Hey, so today we'll be talking about Unit 1 and Unit 2, just reviewing all these templates and the beginning of what we've learned in Java. So in our class header template, we've got, let's see if I can open up my pen. We've got a template that is filled with 3 blanks. Should be pretty self-explanatory what these 3 blanks are. If you don't remember, please look at your notes. But it starts with 3 blanks. And then the curly brackets with the class body in here. Take 5 seconds to figure out what they are. They start out with public, then you have class, and then you have class name. Now, if you want to be very specific, as you should be, class name is always capitalized. So an example of that would be public class dog or public class main. It doesn't matter what the name of the class is, we just need to make sure that it is capitalized. Now, a method header should also be pretty drilled into your head at this point. Starts with 4 blanks, and then parentheses, and then the body. Take 5 seconds to look at your template and figure what is that. So you start with public, and then you have the output data type. You have the method name. Oh, excuse me, I totally messed it. This should actually not be the output data type, and this should not be the method name. This should actually be static, and then the output data type, and the method name. And inside, you have 2 things. You have the variable data type, and then you have the variable name, and if you want to have multiple parameters or multiple variables that you input, then you can do the same thing. The variable to data type, variable to name, comma, etc. So for however many parameters or variables or inputs, they all mean the same thing. However many parameters you want, they all go inside this parentheses. So an easy way to remember this is parameter parentheses. The parameters or the inputs, say aka input, is inside the parentheses. So the next thing we should be talking about is creating variables and assigning values. This should be second nature by now. We've created a lot of variables and we've assigned them a lot of values. So simply 2 blanks, an equal sign, and another equal sign. Take 2 seconds, figure that out. So to create a variable, you need the data type, then you need the variable name, equals, and then the value. So take 10 seconds, pause this video, figure out, and give me 2 examples. 2 different examples. 2 different examples. So hopefully you've paused, but I'm going to make one up. Int x equals 4. Here's one example. And the second example, say I want to have a string dog. Equals and make sure, because it is a string, I do have these quotation marks. Otherwise it's not a string, it's just some random name. And string is capitalized. It is the only data type you know of so far that is capitalized. Casting is converting from one data type to another. If you remember the hierarchy, it is string is greatest, then double, and then lastly int. So simply take what you want, the data type you want to convert, converting data type. I'll abbreviate data type DT, and then the variable or the value that you have, and then simply semicolon. So an example of this, say let's say we have int x, right? And we have it's equal to 4, like the previous example above. And we want to convert it to a double. We'll simply put it in like this. This should give us 4.0 because it's a double. And say we want to convert it into a string. That should give us, with quotations, because strings are always surrounded by quotations, 4.0. Casting is something you'll probably be using in programming, but is not necessarily tested on the AP. And lastly, we're going to move on to Unit 2. Here's a simple for loop. We've covered something like this before. Go ahead and label the 4 parts of the for loop. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And go ahead and tell me what they are. Take 5 seconds. Hopefully you've paused and took some time to label them and remember what they're called. The first thing right here is the first step. The first step is called initializing the variable. The second right here is the test case. The third part right here, this is really important. The body comes first, or third, and then the last part right here, part 4, is updating the variable, updating the counter variable. Now, a lot of people like to mess up, or they don't like to mess up, but they mess up and they're like, oh, it's really easy. It just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, where it's we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you do not update the variable until the body is done. So make sure you remember it goes 1, 2, 3 with the body and 4 with the update variable. Now, for loops like this one we have right here in this example is pretty simple. You don't really need to make a chart if you feel confident in your abilities. But say we have a more complicated one. If we have a more complicated one like this one, I highly suggest, and most people would suggest, make a for loop chart. If you don't remember how to make a for loop chart, it starts with 3 columns. Whatever the counter variable is, the test case, and the body, whatever is in the body. So take 5 seconds, figure out in this, where's the for loop, and what are the 4 parts that you see. If you need more time, be sure to pause. So here we've gone ahead and figure out that the for loop is between lines 19 and 13, or sorry, 9 and 13, excuse me. And it starts with I equals 0, so that's what we put here. And the test case is actually right next door. I is less than array.length. Now, unless you remember what arrays are from previous experience, you probably have no idea what an array.length is. So here we have a string array in line 6, and it's filled with, it's almost like a list of strings: Ron, Harry, Hermione. So array.length simply means the length of this array. The length of this array, Ron, Harry, Hermione. So there's 3 elements in it. If it makes you feel better, or if it makes more sense to you, you can rewrite it as I is less than 3. And in this case, I is 0, I is less than 3. And the body is simply to print out array at index I, and I is 0 here. You don't need to know what that means right now, we're just filling out the chart. Then update variable, remember again, the update variable is the last thing that happens after the body. So I is now 1, 1 is less than 3, so you print out array 1. Hopefully by now you're getting the pattern. I'm going to quickly fill this out. 2 is less than 3, so you print out array index 2. And then 3 is not less than 3, so you just simply exit. And this is where the for loop ends, because this test case does not work. It is not true. Okay, so what prints out from array index 0? It's just the 0th element in the array, which is Ron. The first element in the array is Harry. And then the last element in the array is Hermione. So in this for loop, these 3 things will print out all in a different line, because system.out.println means a different line for each print statement. And if we look on this example, that's exactly what is printed out: Ron, Harry, and Hermione. So go ahead and comment down below if you have any questions. Otherwise, I will see you later.